On Halloween night, 1979, a driver's headlights flickered across a concrete culvert just off Interstate 35 in Georgetown, Texas. Lying face down on that concrete slab was the body of a young woman. She had been brutally murdered and dumped just hours before. The killer had stripped her of everything. No ID, no jewelry, no clothing. Except for one bizarre, unforgettable detail. A pair of bright, orange knit socks. For the next 40 years, investigators wouldn't just be looking for her killer. They would be searching for her name. She was young, likely between 15 and 25, with long, reddish-brown hair. She had silver fillings in her teeth and a small scar on her chin. Clearly, someone had loved her, and someone had watched her grow up. Yet, no one in Georgetown recognized her. She was a ghost who had materialized on the side of the highway, leaving behind a community deeply unsettled. Interstate 35 was a transient highway, a pipeline for truckers, drifters, and hitchhikers. Detectives retraced the hours leading up to Halloween. A waitress at a nearby truck stop remembered a girl matching her description who seemed anxious, constantly looking out the window. Witnesses also reported a young woman hitchhiking near Austin. Did she willingly get into the car of her killer? The timeline was a blur, but one thing was certain: whoever picked her up had violent intent. The autopsy revealed a terrifying timeline. She died only a few hours before she was found. But it was the way she died that shifted the case. There were no bullet wounds or knife marks. She had been manually strangled. The killer had used his bare hands, a method requiring intense physical force and terrifying aggression. There were defense wounds on her arms, but no signs of a struggle in the dirt around the culvert. The conclusion was grim: the concrete culvert wasn't where she died. The real crime happened entirely in the dark. Teams of deputies walked shoulder to shoulder through the brush along I-35, searching for a shoe, a shirt, a purse. They found nothing. The department took a radical step, publishing her composite sketch in newspapers nationwide. Thousands of leads poured in from terrified parents of missing teenagers. But one by one, the dental records didn't match. She belonged to no one. The case went cold, until a man named Henry Lee Lucas started talking. In 1982, a drifter named Henry Lee Lucas was arrested and began confessing to hundreds of unsolved murders across the country. In 1984, investigators showed Lucas a picture of the unidentified girl. Lucas nodded. He claimed he picked her up in Oklahoma, argued with her over sex, and strangled her in his car before dumping her over the culvert. He knew the location. He knew the highway. A Texas court convicted him, and he was sentenced to death. The case seemed closed. But as the execution date neared, investigators looked closer at Lucas's timeline. And the entire case collapsed. On the exact day Orange Socks was murdered, work records and gas receipts placed Henry Lee Lucas over 700 miles away in Maryland. He physically could not have been there. It turned out, the sheriff's office had inadvertently given Lucas access to the case files before his interviews. He had memorized the details just to secure better treatment in jail. Lucas was a fraud. In 1998, his sentence was commuted. He died in prison, taking the truth to his grave. The killer was still out there. The community refused to let her be forgotten. Since no family claimed her, the town paid for a proper burial. Her headstone simply read, "In memory of an unidentified woman died October 31, 1979. For decades, strangers visited her grave, leaving behind flowers and pairs of brightly colored socks." Decades passed until 2019, when the DNA Doe Project took up the case. Using forensic genealogy, they mapped out a complex web of family trees. The threads led to a family in Sulphur Springs, Texas, who had been searching for a missing loved one since 1979. Her name was Debra Jackson. She was 23 when she disappeared after leaving home to find work. For 40 years, her family wondered why she never called, never knowing she was resting under a nameless stone just a few hours away. Today, Debra Jackson's murder remains officially unsolved. With Henry Lee Lucas exposed, the trail is frozen. The person who took her life likely went on to live a full life, never speaking a word of what they did by that concrete culvert. Forensic genealogy gave Debra her identity back, but the shadow of her killer still lingers over that Texas highway. It leaves us to wonder, how many other stories are hidden in plain sight along the roads we drive every single day?